Renee worked the night shift at the hospital, her evenings defined by fluorescent lights and the rhythmic beeping of machines. The subway was her only solace, a pocket of quiet where she could sit and let the day's stress dissolve into the clatter of wheels on steel. That night, however, her routine was disrupted. Renee worked the night shift at the hospital, her evenings defined by fluorescent lights and the rhythmic beeping of machines. The subway was her only solace, a pocket of quiet where she could sit and let the day's stress dissolve into the clatter of wheels on steel. That night, however, her routine was disrupted. She arrived at the station to find the usual routes replaced by a flickering notice on the screen. Line 13, shadowed passage. Next departure, 1:15 a.m. Her brow furrowed. She had never heard of line 13. The map on the wall didn't show it either, and her phone had no information. She considered waiting for the next familiar train, but fatigue made her reckless. If this train took her closer to home, it was worth a shot. When the train arrived, it glided in without a sound, its sleek black exterior absorbing the dim station lights. The windows were pitch dark, offering no hint of the interior. She hesitated before stepping on, her instincts prickling. But the thought of an extra hour's sleep pushed her forward. The doors closed with a heavy, final hiss. She was alone in the car. The usual advertisements and scratchy seats were replaced with pristine black leather and mirrored panels. As the train sped forward, the windows remained dark. There were no tunnel walls, no passing lights, just an oppressive void. When the train slowed, it stopped at a station she didn't recognize, Chimera Terminal. The name was etched into cracked marble walls, the letters jagged as if carved in desperation. The air was colder here, heavier. Despite her exhaustion, unease rooted her in place. She glanced at the map above the doors, her stomach twisting. The stops weren't labeled with familiar destinations, but strange names. Echo Hollow, the Reflection Zone, and Lost Identities. Renee, hello? Is anyone there? Her voice echoed faintly, swallowed by the cavernous station. She stepped off the train, her footsteps reverberating eerily. The platform was desolate, lined with flickering lights that cast long, shifting shadows. Renee. Excuse me? A figure emerged from the darkness and Renee froze. It was her, a perfect copy. Same scrubs, same ponytail, same dark circles under her eyes. But something was wrong. The double's eyes gleamed with a malevolence that sent a shiver down Renee's spine. Doppelganger! I've been waiting for you! The doppelganger said, her voice a distorted mimicry of Renee's own. Renee, what the hell? The other her stepped forward, smiling cruelly. Doppelganger, this place thrives on mirrors, on the pieces of you that you hide, and me, I'm your better half. Her grin widened, revealing teeth too sharp to belong to any human. The shadows around the platform shifted, coalescing into more figures. Doppelgangers. They stepped into the dim light, their faces twisted versions of people Renee had seen before. Commuters, passengers from the train. Some wept, others glared with anger or grinned unnervingly. They moved closer, their voices overlapping in an eerie chant. Doppelgangers, one must stay, one must stay. Renee bolted for the train. The doors hissed open, but the interior was no longer empty. The car was packed with doppelgangers. Some sat weeping, others stared blankly ahead, their mouths moving as if silently pleading for help. In the center of the car was an empty seat, its backrest engraved with her name. Panic surged through her as she turned and ran for the stairs. She needed to get back to the surface, to reality. But the stairs were a trap. Every flight she climbed brought her back to the same platform, the same leering doppelgangers waiting below. Her breaths came in short, sharp gasps, her heart pounding like a drum. At the top of the stairs stood her doppelganger, smiling calmly. Doppelganger, you can't leave. This is home now. You're part of the shadow. Renee screamed as cold, clawed hands grabbed her ankles and dragged her down. She clawed at the steps, but the figures were too strong. They pulled her back toward the train, their laughter echoing in her ears. The last thing she saw before the doors closed was her double stepping onto the stairs, adjusting her scrubs and smiling triumphantly. The next morning, Renee arrived at the hospital as usual. Her co-workers didn't notice anything unusual. In fact, they marveled at how cheerful and efficient she seemed. Gone was her exhaustion. replaced by an unnerving calm. Only one person, a janitor who had worked there for years, felt the prickle of unease. Something about her eyes was wrong. Too dark, too deep, like staring into an endless abyss. Meanwhile, in the depths of the shadowed passage, the real Renee sat in the darkened train car screaming for help that would never come. Her voice was swallowed by the shadows as the train sped toward its next stop, ready to claim another unwitting passenger.